Welcome to Missing in Ohio, a podcast devoted to telling the stories of Ohio's missing loved ones. I am your host, Kelly Bruce, and this is Chapter 12, The Disappearance of Shawn Antill. Shawn Antill is a missing adult from Cadiz, Ohio. He was last seen exiting a vehicle along US 250 on December 23, 2017. Shawn was 24 years old at the time of his disappearance and would be 25 years old today. Shawn is a white male, approximately 5 foot 3 inches tall and 120 pounds, with brown hair and blue eyes. If you have any information on the disappearance of Shawn Antill, please call the Harrison County Sheriff's Office at 740-942-2197. Shawn Antill has an army of friends and family searching desperately for answers. I have spoke to several people that love and miss Shawn dearly. The next part of the show is going to be a previously recorded interview with Shawn's aunt, Julie.
Hi, Julie. I'd like to welcome you to Missing in Ohio today, and thank you for your time in sharing Shawn's story with us.
Absolutely, Kelly. Thank you also.
So let's go right into it, and let's start and talk a little bit about Shawn. Tell me what he was like, as a kid and growing up, and just what he did, his hobbies, interests, anything like that.
Well, he was a very bubbly, happy person, always as a child and as an adult. He always would walk into a room and make people feel comfortable, try to make people laugh. Hobbies, I would have to say music, family. He was unfortunately, he was introduced into a criminal atmosphere at a very young age. I'm just going to put it that way. I don't know how else to explain that. He did have an addictive side. He also was a follower. He liked to make people happy. He was a people pleaser. He always tried to make people feel comfortable. If there was a situation that wasn't comfortable, he tried to joke about it. Other than that, he was just a normal kid. He had a family life. He was involved with the Antills and the Stocks most of his life. The Scotts didn't have too much of a hand in raising Shawn. We were in his life early and then a bit absent in the middle. That wasn't because anybody wanted it that way. It was just the way life kind of took everybody. And then when Shawn got older, he had a drug overdose episode, and we almost lost him. And we were more in contact with him after that. So I have more memories of Shawn when he was a baby, not an adolescent or a teen, and then as an adult. So if there's anything that I should shed light on, I am more than happy to do that. Shawn,
Okay.
like I said, was in a criminal element. He was in a halfway house. That's where he met Preston Yates, who was the last person to see Shawn.
Okay. We're going to go into Preston quite a bit because I have a lot of questions for you on the day that Shawn disappeared. You mentioned to me that Shawn is a father, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many kids does he have?
He's got 2 boys.
Okay. And how old are the boys, if you don't mind me asking?
6 and 4.
Okay.
Preston is 6 and Kingsley is 4.
You mentioned that Shawn had an issue with drugs and everything. At the time of his...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the last year of his life, he was absolutely changing things around. He was proud of himself. He wasn't on drugs. He was clean. So those things hurt a little bit more. Knowing that he was doing so well, knowing that he was trying to turn around.
Right. And at the time of his disappearance, he was clean at the time of his disappearance, then, is what you're saying, or at least prior to the disappearance?
Prior to. I do know that on the night he disappeared, Preston did influence him. He did try methamphetamines for the first time.
Okay.
I have that information from a witness who was there with them that evening.
Okay. Well, let's just go straight into the day of his disappearance. Prior to meeting up with Preston and his other friends or whoever was with them, did any of your family members see Shawn that day?
The day before would have been his mom, Stacy Antill, did see him. They did spend some time together. No, other than that, no, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And did Shawn have his own place, or was he living with someone?
Shawn was living in multiple places. He did not have his own place. He was crashing wherever he could find a place to crash at night.
Okay. So, on the day he disappeared, tell me the very first story that you heard.
The very first story I heard was the story that is circulated as truth, which is Preston and Louise's child was in a car with Shawn. Shawn started acting belligerent. They made him get out of the car because they were in fear for the child's life. And they left Shawn on the side of the road, and he ran into the woods, and that was the last time anybody saw him. And that was supposed to be on Cold Trap Road. That's where Preston Yates physically took us, was Cold Trap Road. Because I went to his house in Yorksville, and I asked him, please come with me and show me where my nephew got out of the car. I've already searched. My family's already searched. We've had no luck. We searched up in barn lofts to see if maybe he tried to find somewhere to stay to be warm. Preston led us on a wild goose chase.
Preston's story changed as well, didn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the new story he was telling?
The new story didn't come out until after he was apprehended by Harrison County. Harrison County Sheriff's Department asked Preston to take them where he supposedly, him and Shawn, were last. Preston's story then became this. Shawn called me from McDonald's. He asked me to come and pick him up in Cadiz McDonald's. I showed up. Shawn jumped in the car and said, drive, because she's coming. And Preston proceeded to say that him and Shawn were on a high-speed chase running from an unidentified car and unidentified people all the way out Route 9 up to where Cold Trap Road and Barger Road come in from the back. And then he went up into the field behind the county home where he claimed his car got stuck under a gate. Shawn and Preston both exited the car. Preston and Shawn ran to a tree. There were headlights coming up over the hill. Someone was still chasing them. They panicked. Preston ran to the right. Shawn ran to the left. And no one was ever seen Shawn since. That was Preston's story to Harrison County Sheriff's Department. The second story.
So there's a third.
Oh, there was another one before that, before Preston got arrested. He changed his story. I did take audio when I picked Preston up. I have him saying that he dropped Shawn off, and then he turned around and saw Shawn walking up the road when they passed him. Cold Trap is like a horseshoe road, though. It comes in on 250 and goes straight back out onto 250. There would never be a reason to turn around on that road. So that was another story he told, was that Shawn was walking, up Cold Trap Road.
Okay,
I don't believe that story either.
This Hill Track Road, the way you're describing it, it sounds pretty rural. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, how did Shawn meet Preston?
In a halfway house in Massillon, Ohio. Canton, Ohio, I'm sorry.
So had they been friends for a while then?
No. No, Shawn trusted the wrong people.
Okay. Do you know approximately how long Shawn and Preston met before Shawn disappeared?
Like a week or two. A couple weeks.
Oh, wow. So a really new friendship. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. So the lady that you said that was with them, I'm sorry, did you say Louisa?
It's Louise, Louise.
Okay, so did Shawn know Louise, or was she a new friend as well?
Louise is Preston's sister, so he only knew her as long as he knew Preston.
Okay, gotcha. So how long did it take for you guys to file a missing persons report?
The very next day, Preston got a hold of Shawn's step-cousin and informed her she needed to put out a missing persons report.
Okay. Does Preston still communicate with your family about Shawn's
Absolutely
sister?
not. No, he will not. No.
Okay. Is there a reason why? I mean, that you know of?
Because he's guilty. One of my biggest red flags from the very beginning was if you and your friend just separated and you knew there was danger, why wouldn't you call your friend's phone? Why? I have only one conclusion for that, and that is because he knew Shawn was not going to answer, could not answer.
When you reported him missing, you said your family reported him missing to the Harrison County Sheriff's Department, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was about a day later. What did Harrison County do initially?
They initially did nothing. They laughed it off. They said Shawn was a addict and he was a criminal and he was running from them and he would show up when the money or the drugs ran out. I tried to explain to Detective Stoker that Shawn had Christmas gifts for his children. It was one of the only times that he was so proud and so looking forward to seeing his kids for Christmas. He was not incarcerated. He was doing well. He was working. And Preston stole that from him. And I tried to tell Detective Stoker that no, he would have stole your vehicle from in front of your sheriff's department to go see his children. He was not afraid of the police. He was wanting to turn himself in. He said that to his mom. He wanted to see his kids for Christmas, and then he wanted to turn himself in. I want to say something before I forget, and it's lost. One of Shawn's last phone calls was actually made to Harrison County Sheriff's Department, not 911. The phone call was 17 minutes of silence. Or 17 seconds, 17 seconds of silence. Now, that phone call was made from Shawn's phone to Harrison County Sheriff's Department. If that wouldn't have been a red flag for them, I don't know what would have.
What time was this call, Julie?
I would have to actually go back and find that information out. I don't know exactly what time that phone call was made, but I know it was one of his last phone calls.
Okay. So when Shawn went missing, he had his cell phone with him, obviously. Did he have anything else with him that you knew of?
No, I know that he had just gotten paid. I don't think he would have had anything with him because he was staying with Preston in Yerricksville. He was supposed to be going to pick up his girlfriend at the time's vehicle so he could go see his kids for Christmas. And he never made it to pick up that vehicle.
Okay. And did his girlfriend at the time, did she talk to Shawn that day or know anything else besides you were?
The day before, actually, yes, Brittany was in Jefferson County Jail at the time, and Shawn did go visit her the day before.
You said Harrison County didn't do anything initially because of all
Correct.
of that. Did they start investigating properly then?
I'm going to say partially. I know that we grabbed the attention of Morgan Knight. He was there at the time. He has since resigned. He did actually have his own dog out in the field searching by himself. Whenever we initially went to the sheriff's department, and Morgan Knight actually took his briefcase off, sat down, and said, "Okay, I'm listening." So I will not discredit that man. He did try, but he has since resigned. This case has a lot of addicts involved. There's no other way to explain that. It's just what it is. So I know that they've taken a lot of drug dealers and a lot of drugs off the street because of this. I've been told by law enforcement, I know that you're hurting, and we know it's not a great situation, but we want you to know that Shawn's disappearance is not in vain because a whole lot of good is coming from it. But that still doesn't heal my heart.
No, it doesn't. I mean, yes, it is good that these people are being taken off the streets, but we need answers for Shawn.
Yes, ma'am.
You know this case better than I do. What are some other things that you would like to talk about and discuss?
I would like the facts that were put out in the beginning that were not facts at all, that were taken as truth, to make sure the actual details and the actual truth is put out in the public, other than Shawn went crazy on drugs, jumped out of a car, and ran. That did not happen. Police wrote an affidavit stating that Shawn was in that car. Well, she went back and she retracted that statement in that affidavit the very next day. But unfortunately, the first story has made so many rounds, and a lot of people have that in their head, that it's hard to discount. It's hard to make people understand that Louise and Preston Yates lied from the very beginning. Shawn was not in her vehicle. She already told us that much. She said, "I'm sorry, I can't help more. Preston is my brother." The fact of the matter is, Shawn Antill was never in Louise's car. Louise never saw Shawn that evening, and she claims she did. She only lied for her brother to protect her brother, Preston Yates.
Now, she retracted the affidavit, but do you have a copy of that affidavit?
No, ma'am, I do not. That is with Harrison County Sheriff's Department. I asked the detectives, how could you just let her walk away when you know that she just retracted a statement? And they said, we will not arrest somebody for coming back and telling the truth. I said, but how do you know that that's the truth? If she already lied once, how can you take this person's word for it? She's an addict. She's not a truthful person to begin with, and you know this. Why wouldn't you press her? I got nothing from them.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. So Louise has a record as well?
Well, I don't know if she has a record. I know that she's a drug addict. Harrison County is aware of all this. That's why I'm saying, they focus more on getting the drug aspect of it, but that still does not help us bring Shawn home.
Okay. The land that that Preston claims that Shawn got out of the car, do you know the owners of that land?
I do not know the owners, but I do know where the landkeeper is, and we did have permission to go up there on foot. Still to this day, we can go up there on foot and search. We're not allowed to take any vehicles up there anymore. So, I mean, I do know where to find him. I do not have his name.
Okay. Do you think that Harrison County would be willing to work with Texas EquiSearch?
You know, that's funny that you bring that up because I believe they contacted them before, and I believe they turned them away. Now, I can't say at this point if they contacted them again. I would have to say they would almost have to let them do a search.
Now, have any searches ever been done with dogs?
Not thoroughly, and not on the area that needs to be looked at, no. They had dogs in Yorkville. I don't believe they ever had dogs on 250, no. When I say 250, I mean Tappan Lake region, Coltrap Road, Barger Road, Harrison County home area. That place has never been thoroughly searched. Like, okay. We have walked it. We've not done a grid search. We didn't have enough people. Me and my brother and my cousin, some of Shawn's step family. I don't think they've ever been up in the field. They didn't really get out of their car, but we have walked it. We've had four-wheelers. No, we need dogs ran up there, and I keep asking Toker, and actually I had him on a recording last week saying, yeah, he will try to get the dogs back up there. But what he tells me and what he does, I'm not sure if they coincide. The most intriguing part of this for me is whenever we found that gate in the field up behind Harrison County home where Preston's car was stuck, if you look behind that gate, that's all a mine. That's all mine area. It's right there.
Okay.
They're blasting. It's an active mine. Now, with the contract they have, it's a reclamation project where they have to put the earth back to where it was before they started, which won't happen for about 2 years. So if Shawn is under all that earth that they just put there, it's going to be very difficult to find him.
And you said this is an active mine?
Yes, ma'am. See, they were blasting. They were using dynamite. They were blasting. I stood in that field and I cried because my first initial thought when I saw that gate and I found it that day and I heard them blasting was Preston put Shawn over there. He knew they were blasting. They were already in trouble for the B&E at Rosebud Mining Company. And I think Preston's thought was no one would be surprised to find Shawn in a mine. We were already caught stealing from one. Now, that was before Preston was ever involved, name-wise. Shawn would have been able to implicate Preston in that B&E. Shawn dropped his phone in the truck when they returned it. That's how Harrison County knew Shawn was involved with that B&E on December 10th.
And you said that B&E was at a mine shaft too?
It was also at a mine company, yes.
That seems strange to me.
And that's why I think Preston, in his psychopathic mind, thought, putting Shawn in a mine shaft, no one would be surprised that, maybe he was trying to steal something from there too and sell or whatever his thought process was on that. But I believe that Shawn is there. I believe that. I believe that when I first saw that gate, and I believe it still to this day. Shawn wrecked his car that day. Shawn wrecked Preston Yates' car that day, December 10th. There's a picture of it I screenshotted from Preston's Facebook page. And I did actually put it up on #BringShawn homepage. I put stuff on there whenever I come across it just so I don't lose it. And
I would like to ask everyone listening to go to Shawn's Facebook page and follow it and share his picture to help raise awareness for his family. Just getting his face out there and story out there may get us some answers.
Okay, so tell me the story about Preston's car and the gate and where that location is and why you feel it's relevant.
Okay, I believe it's relevant, number one, because his car paint matched on the gate. Harrison County did have that paint matched. They said it was definitely Preston's car that was stuck under the gate. I also know that his sister had to come and help him get that car out of the mud. So I think it's relevant because, number one, when we went and got Preston the first time in Ericksville, he took us to Coal Trap Road. He did not take us to the road that gate was on. Mind you, we had already been searching for a good 24 hours. Whenever we were on foot, we were at the bottom of that cable road. There's a cable that goes across that access road. It was untouched. There was a sign that was sitting in front of it. It's a no trespassing sign. It was intact. Everything was fine. There was no tire tracks or anything. So we had to walk up that hill on foot. Fast forward, Preston goes to jail, gets out a couple of days later, bonded out. We're still out there looking. Well, we happen to go up Barger Road, and that cable is down, and that sign was hit and ran over. So now the trespassing sign is laying on the ground to the side. The cable is down on the ground, looked like somebody ran through it. So we decided to go up that road. And lo and behold, there is a gate that looks like it was crashed into. Now, I don't understand why he would have gone back up into that field after he got out of jail. So the question is, was that paint matched to his car before he went to jail or after he went to jail? And was he just setting his alibi up? That's my question. That's never been answered properly. So that's a huge relevant thing for me. And just the fact that I saw that cable and remembering we had to walk around it to get up there the first time. And then after we were searching again, after Preston gets out of jail, that stuff is tampered with, and it just made no sense to me. Like, why is this all, ran over and run down? Well, maybe somebody was trying to go back up there to hide something that they had done and got their car stuck. I don't know what day Preston got his car stuck up there. I just know that his car was stuck up there. Why would he be up there? Why?
Anything else about Shawn's disappearance that you want to put out there? Anything at all? Or about Shawn or anything?
Just that his babies really, really miss their daddy. I mean, they still ask, Angela, did you find my daddy yet? Or, random people that they see on Facebook, and they might see Shawn's picture, and they will just call people on FaceTime and say, I saw a picture of my daddy. Did you find him? Those little hearts are still just so tender and so broken. And that's my biggest heartbreak for this whole thing. It's just like, I don't understand how people, knowing what happened, could not come forward with information, knowing those babies don't have their daddy anymore.
It's a terrible, terrible thing for those kids and for your family, and just the not knowing.
I believe if people know the real story about Preston and Louise not having Shawn in that car, that is going to be crucial.
That is crucial. I mean, that's a blatant lie. That feels like giving someone an alibi or a cover-up to me.
That's exactly what it was. I mean, it's just funny that anybody who we asked told the same exact story, word for word. It was like they rehearsed this story, and Preston coached them on what to say, and that's what everybody tried to stick to at first until we started blowing holes in that whole story.
I can't imagine, and I can only try to put myself in your guys' situation, but I don't understand why these people don't come forward, and maybe not Preston, maybe not Louise, but the other people that have been told this story or that know these people, I mean, they have nothing to lose by coming forward. Everything can be done anonymously. If anyone has any information, if you don't want to reach out to the Harrison County Sheriff's Department, you can reach out to Missing in Ohio, and we will report the tip for you. Anything to try to get information for Shawn and his family.
Yes.
So they brought multiple people in for polygraphs.
Yes, ma'am.
Preston being one of them.
Yes, ma'am.
And he was found deceptive on one or more questions?
On one question out of 3. They only asked him 3 questions. I'm not exactly sure what question it was that he was found deceptive on, so I can't speak on that, but I just know that out of all the people who have taken polygraphs at this point, he was the only one who showed deception on any questions.
Do you know any of the 3 questions asked to him?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I didn't figure you would, but I thought I would ask just for the record. That's interesting.
I find it interesting also.
If Shawn's out there listening somewhere, what would you say to him?
Come home. We need you. We miss you. We love you. Just come home.
And if someone calls foul play to Shawn, what do you want to say to that person?
There's a special place in hell waiting for you.
I agree with that answer, 100%.
And I have to tell you this, too. The day that we delivered Preston Yates to Harrison County, when Preston was being put into the car, which is the only time he ever looked me in my eyes, he said, I'm going to do time for this B&E, but I'm not going to do time for Shawn Antill. And he smirked and he looked at me and he said, Shawn who? That plays in my head so often.
Julie and I have had multiple conversations, both on and off the record. I'm going to give a short summary of my conversations with Julie, as well as what I have learned about Shawn's disappearance. On December 10, 2017, Shawn Antill and his new acquaintance, Preston Yates, decided to break into a mining company. During the burglary, Shawn dropped his phone, and ultimately, this is how the police implicated the 2 of them in the crime. Earlier that same day, Shawn had wrecked Preston's car. Shawn decided to clean up his life and planned on turning himself in to the police, but he wanted to spend time with his 2 sons on Christmas first. On December 23, 2017, Shawn Antill made arrangements with his girlfriend Brittany to use her car so he could go see his 2 sons for Christmas. Shawn was living with Preston at the time, and Preston agreed to drive Shawn to pick up Brittany's car. However, Shawn never showed up to pick up the car, and he hasn't been seen since. It is no secret that Shawn has a criminal past, but I feel it is his most recent crime that could have played a role in his disappearance. December 10th was not a good day for Shawn and Preston. It started off with Shawn flipping Preston's vehicle. Later that night, the 2 broke into the mining company, but as I already mentioned, Shawn dropping his phone not only implicated him, but Shawn could implicate Preston. With Shawn telling Preston he was going to turn himself in, I have to wonder if Preston was okay with this. After all, it was still a very new friendship, if you can even call it that. Preston didn't really know Shawn, nor did he know if Shawn would turn him in as well. Preston's story has changed countless times. I've said it before and I will say it again. Your story does not change if you are telling the truth. I personally have heard Julie's recordings of Preston's story changing. With all of this, it creates so many questions for me. Why was Shawn calling the Harrison County Sheriff's Department? Why was there 17 seconds of silence? Why did Preston immediately insist Shawn should be reported missing before calling around to find Shawn? Why didn't Preston call Shawn's phone? With so many questions, I decided to reach out to the Harrison County Sheriff's Department. After a few days of playing phone tag, I finally got to speak to Lieutenant Robert Toker. With experience, I knew since it was an active investigation, the information given to me would be limited. I was pleasantly surprised to find Lieutenant Robert Toker was very polite and willing to speak to me. He confirmed some of the things that Julie had already told me and corrected anything Julie was unsure of or had questions about. He explained to me the searches that were done with dogs, helicopters, and airplanes. We spoke of new leads Harrison County is following up with, as well as current searches they are doing, one as recent as a few days ago. We spoke about Preston's account of the evening, and Lieutenant Toker told me the following. Preston and Shawn were living together at the time. They went to the Cadiz McDonald's so Shawn could use the Wi-Fi to make a call. He called his girlfriend Brittany's mom to see if the car he was supposed to pick up was still there. This phone call was confirmed by Harrison County Sheriff via phone records. Preston and Shawn then left McDonald's while under the influence of meth. While driving, the two passed what they believed was a law enforcement car and freaked out. Whether they were or not, they believed they were running from the police. During their getaway, they ended up wrecking Preston's car into the gate that Julie mentioned during my conversation with her. Preston and Shawn then exited the vehicle and ran in different directions, still believing they were being chased. I asked Lieutenant Toker about the cable that Julie described seeing that had been crashed into. He explained to me that the land is owned by the city, but is rented out to be farmed by a local farmer. One day while at the location, the farmer forgot his key to the lock and decided to use an impact drill to remove the cable rather than going home to get the keys. This fact answered so many questions that me and Julie have, along with not knowing when Preston's car hit the gate. We quickly moved on to the call Julie told me about that Shawn made to the Harrison County Sheriff's Office. Shawn did in fact call the Harrison County Sheriff's Office, and the line was filled with 14 seconds of silence. The dispatcher repeatedly tried to get a response, but got nothing. However, Shawn did not make this call on the night he disappeared. This call took place on December 20th, 2017. We spoke briefly about Preston being deceptive on his polygraph. He confirmed what Julie told me, that Preston was deceptive on 1 out of 3 questions. I spoke to him about bringing in Texas EquiSearch and the benefits of bringing them in. He agreed to their help with the search of Shawn Antill. I forwarded him a contact number given to me by Brittany Davis, the wife of Tyler Davis, who is missing from Columbus, Ohio. Hopefully Texas EquiSearch can help soon in the current and future searches that are planned. I will continue my work with Shawn's family and Lieutenant Toker, and will have a future update episode on the disappearance of Shawn Antill. With all the ongoing searches and new tips daily, there is a lot of information that we didn't get to cover here today, but we will when there are more facts. I want to thank Julie and the rest of Shawn's family for sharing Shawn's story with all of us. I know it can't be easy for all of you, and I pray daily that you will receive the answers you and Shawn deserve. I want to thank Lieutenant Toker for not only taking the time to speak to me, but for his years of service as well. We have had numerous conversations, both on and off the record, and he makes himself available to me anytime I reach out. I wish every other law enforcement agency would do this as well. I believe the Harrison County Sheriff's Office is doing everything in their power to find answers as to what happened to Shawn Antill. Shawn Antill is a missing adult from Cadiz, Ohio. He was last seen exiting a vehicle along US 250 on December 23, 2017. Shawn was 24 years old at the time of his disappearance and would be 25 years old today. Shawn is a white male, approximately 5 foot 3 inches tall and 120 pounds, with brown hair and blue eyes. If you have any information on the disappearance of Shawn Antill, please call the Harrison County Sheriff's Office at 740-942-2197. Missing in Ohio is an affiliate of Missing Person from Ohio. Missing Person from Ohio is a Facebook page ran by Lori Davis devoted to raising awareness for Ohio's missing loved ones. Here is a missing person update from Lori and how Missing Person from Ohio can help if you have a missing loved one.
Missing Person from Ohio is an outlet for those with missing loved ones where we can publicize their case. I can help ensure that they are listed on the correct organizations. I can talk to the family members about steps that they can take to try to help keep the publicity out there for their missing loved one. And I can also just work with that family to let them understand that someone cares, that we are a group of individuals that really want to help, and we're doing this for the right reasons. We're doing everything that we can to help them bring their missing loved one home. And if we're not able to bring them home, we can at least help support them during the time while they're missing.
If you have a missing loved one and would like us to help you tell their story, email us at missingpersonsinohio@gmail.com. You can also contact us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Missing in Ohio now has a Patreon and PayPal page. With the Patreon page, we offer a number of donation tiers. Tiers start as low as $2 per month, allowing you to help raise awareness for missing persons without breaking the bank. If you would prefer to make a one-time donation, it can be done so via our Missing in Ohio PayPal page. All donations will be used for equipment, production of the podcast, to provide families of missing loved ones with flyers, for investigation costs, and to host missing persons events. Links to the Patreon and PayPal accounts can be found in the show notes. Any contribution will be greatly appreciated. Thank you in advance. You can find Missing in Ohio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Discuss all the cases you hear on Missing in Ohio on the Missing in Ohio podcast group page. You can listen to Missing in Ohio on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and many of the other podcast sites you enjoy. If you like Missing in Ohio and the awareness we are raising, please give us a review and give us 5 stars on whatever listening platform you enjoy. And don't forget to check out my other podcast as well. Brian Schaefer Dead or Alive is an investigative series on the disappearance of Brian Schaefer. You will find it on all the listening platforms where you currently listen to Missing in Ohio. Don't forget to follow all the social media for Brian Schaefer Dead or Alive as well. Thanks in advance. Thank you for listening to Missing in Ohio, Chapter 12, The Disappearance of Shawn Antill. Tune in next time for Missing in Ohio, Chapter 13.